AbilityMKE Now is a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at AbilityMKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own, with people we know, or with people we encounter in our daily lives. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. Joining us today is my co-host, Michael Martin Hummel. Michael is a writer, speaker, and podcaster who works to bridge the gap between disabled and able-bodied people. So glad to have you with us here tonight. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me again, and it's good to see you in a different position.
Yeah, I'm actually traveling along right now and still able to do a live show tonight, which is exciting. We are pleased and proud to be introducing a new friend of the show here. Paige Spears is somebody that I've gotten the pleasure of knowing over the past, I think, maybe year or so. And I am so happy to have Paige joining us tonight. Paige, why don't you come on in and give a little background of who you are? Thanks for being here.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Sue. I consider myself to be ability challenged in the way of having some neuromotor challenges mostly, and visual also after blood clots in my lungs caused oxygen deprivation brain injury in 2016 when I was 32. And I've spent the time since unraveling and unpacking that, and also forging a new path of being an awareness advocate for both brain injury and blood clots.
Excellent. And I know you've had some amazing experiences along the way with like therapeutic horseback riding. Wonder if you want to tell us a bit about what that is and what that's all done for you.
Yeah, I also have had a lot of experience with horses beforehand, starting with my first English style horseback riding lessons when I was 13, and that continued through high school and into college when I started out my college career as an equestrian major at William Woods University in Fulton, Missouri. Although I did 2 years there and then transferred to Bullitt College in southern Wisconsin, which you would be somewhat familiar with, and I got my BA in dance, which I had also had a lot of experience with. So I'm well acquainted with movement and what can happen there and the benefits horses can bring to the arena. And I've recently, I've been doing therapeutic horseback riding since the year of my injury in 2016, and that has continued. Now I've been riding at my regional stable, Cedar Creek in Columbia, Missouri, since 2017, and I've been there taking classes there for at least one season every year out of the 3 that they have.
Awesome. Exciting that you've had a chance to do as much as you have, actually, because I know with the background in horses, that was a natural fit for you to be able to continue with the horseback riding. And actually, I should ask Michael, is that something that you've had a chance to do?
I can do side saddle. I can't do like the regular standard way because my legs will break like a wishbone. But I have done side saddle.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did some of that in my first private lessons. There were occupational and physical therapy sessions where I had an instructor and someone to lead the horse and sidewalkers, and they helped me swing my legs around to either side and face the back of the horse. And I just rode initially in a bareback pad on a halflinger, and they are a breed of horse that's on the short and round side. And I rode horses that were more on the round side initially to get better stretch in my already long legs.
I use a wheelchair, so like I'm always in braces for the most part, except when I sleep. And like if I can't put my legs around the horse like on either side. So like I said, if I put my legs on either side, they'll just break. So I have to go on one side.
Hmm. Yeah, everyone seems to need their own different specialized type of work and therapy, even on a horse.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never heard of therapy with a horse. I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it's about.
I actually had volunteered at the barn where I had my first lessons. I went there in high school, early in high school, to get some volunteer hours, and
Mhm.
then on a Make a Difference Day photography project later on. And then I went and started there as a client, interestingly enough.
Very cool.
So for those that are not familiar with what therapeutic horseback riding is, can you tell us a bit more about it?
It's in my case, it's physical therapy on a horse where I can uh, well, riding the horse stimulates natural movement of walking and spinal flexion and integrating my gait when I walk as the horse moves. And I also did other things like holding a PVC pole in each hand, the end of it, and the instructor would hold the other end and walk behind the horse and help me get swing back into my arms as the horse walked, and
Very
other
cool.
things like holding a ball up and holding it in front of me and twisting at my core to each side. And there are also games at Cedar Creek that we do, like beanbag or ring toss from the back of the horse, or making a basket in a basketball hoop on the side of the arena.
It's interesting. I've never played games or done anything as far as exercise on a horse. So it's interesting to learn that.
Yeah, and we do warm ups in each class before we really get started, like taking our feet out of the stirrups and rolling our ankles around, or stretching up with our arms and holding our arms out to the sides and twisting to each side and stretching forward to touch the horse's ears and back to touch the tail, all of which I can do, and sometimes also even leaning over with one hand on the mane and the other hand stretching down to touch my toe.
Wow, very cool. How often do you get to do these exercises?
The private lessons were twice a week, and the group classes are every week, and those go for about 8 weeks at a time, except in the summers. Now it's going on in July, and it's just 4 weeks. And I'm taking the summer session off to focus on neural movement, and also since the end of season horse show is when my family will be on our trip to Michigan.
Very cool.
Excellent. So what do you think is the biggest gain that you've received from having those experiences with the horses?
It's improved my coordination and communication with the horse, and that's also been an emotional boost for me. And since the horse in question also appreciates me as an advanced rider, although she's done a few kind of silly things almost, but I've been there to correct her. And one of the horses that I rode, his name was Huey, and he was an Appaloosa Arabian mix. And we had a low bar set up in the middle of the arena, and everyone else just rode over it at a trot. And Huey did a little jump, and that
Hmm,
reminded me of the jump work that I had done as a teenager. And I was at a camp in Indiana, and we all did a dressage drill routine and a jump course, and it was me and one other rider in my division, and I won.
very cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that you had the background already in horses, and that's something you've been able to continue on a therapeutic path with having the brain injury and being able to utilize a passion that you have to continue to get better and better in all sorts of aspects of your life.
And I won the Rider of the Year award in 2021.
Well,
Oh
very
my
cool.
gosh, I love that.
That's awesome.
Dance is
With
another
my
story.
back, I'd be too scared to ride a horse. I know a lot anyway.
Yeah, I've also missed dance actually, since things haven't been the same really since 2015, 2016 with my movement and coordination. I've started to slowly get some of it back, but it would be fun for me if I could find a local, say, different ability focused class I could take and perform.
Awesome. Well, and
Where are
I
you
know
from? I was
I
gonna ask her where she's from because I'm curious.
I currently live in Fulton, Missouri. It's in the
Okay.
middle of the state.
Okay.
so. Well, I know you do a lot to help others as well. I wonder if you want to share a little bit more about that passion that you have as far as being able to provide information and do things to help other people who are looking for ways to get better themselves.
Yeah, I have a free Facebook group called the Choosing Greater Health Community. And I also have the show that you've been involved in, Sue, and that is the Choosing Greater Health Show, which features interviews with functional and integrated medical professionals to share that information and what they do and get that out to as many people as it can be good for as possible.
Excellent. And what inspired you to do that, to be able to?
My own search for resources following my injury when standard medicine saved my life, but then I was left to find the additional resources that would go deeper for me and provide additional steps in my recovery. And I'd like to shortcut that whole process for other people too, who can benefit from the additional resources that people really need to know about.
Excellent. So with all the things that you've done, I'm kind of curious, what do you consider to be your superpower along the way with you? Because you do so many wonderful things. What stands out to you in your own world is what is your superpower?
Being a connector of people and resources, and my tenacity.
Excellent.
Love that.
So, and what is the biggest thing that is there anything that's been a surprise that you've discovered along the way as you've been making connections? What anything along the way that's been kind of in that realm that you're glad you've come across that you were not expecting?
How many resources are in my local area, for one thing, and I've found everything in good timing.
Excellent. And with what you've done to connect information to others, have you found some along the way that's been a benefit to yourself?
Yeah, usually I try things out for myself and then I know what to tell others. For instance, I learned about functional neurology from the Brain Health Summit, and that was an online event by Amy Zellmer and the Not Invisible campaign for traumatic brain injuries, but it can also apply to other kinds of brain injuries. So I looked up functional neurology provider directories and found one here in central Missouri that I go to, and also then connected him with my local support group facilitator, and we've had him on into our group as a guest on 2 or 3 occasions.
Excellent. And if say that phrase again, it's functional neurology.
Yeah,
So
goes deeper than traditional neurology. Traditional neurology really is only working at a pharmaceutical level, and functional neurology gets into the actual physical motor dysfunction. And there are exercises to help things work better together.
Excellent. So, Michael, I'm curious, do you have any questions with what she's all been talking about?
And I'm curious as to what the functional neurology is because my wife has had a TBI. Also, we had a car accident a few years ago, so she has a TBI. So I was just curious what that is and how that affects you.
There's also a lot of connection with the vestibular system, and that can be a big issue for traumatic brain injury survivors. And that also relates to a lot of areas like sleep and vision and balance. And I'm not sure that my visual issues are exactly vestibular in nature so much as my eyes not communicating with my brain in the same way. And I've had some benefit from prisms in my glasses lenses. I had glasses before when I was just nearsighted, and now it's nearsighted and the communication issue. And I initially got the prismatic prescription from a behavioral ophthalmologist in the Chicago area, and that started out too strong and had to be dialed back, which is probably the opposite of a better approach to it. But anyway, things have stabilized, and I've gotten updates every few years, and also my support group facilitator has benefited from the, it's what one group member calls the Dizzy Balance Center in St. Louis, and that is can't remember what kind of specific ophthalmology that is, but that is also more relating to brain injury and visual disturbances. So that's worked for her too. And she's also found benefit from functional neurology in getting a general handle on things.
Very interesting. Thank you.
So, and with all the different things you have tried, Paige, with therapies and whatnot, is there any of the things that you've done that you've been actually surprised at how well it's helped you?
Neural movement has been a good piece of that, and that really has better reconnected my brain and musculoskeletal system. And I've previously done 2 or 3 sessions of 3 sessions a week, and then this time we're doing 1 session a week for a month over the course of the month, and that may work to integrate things even better with less soreness.
Excellent. Well, I know you have a podcast of your own. We've mentioned that you have Choosing Greater Health, and you've had a lot of wonderful guests on there. Do you want to share some information that you've learned from some of your guests, or something that stands out to you as a memorable piece?
I'm wearing a shirt from my chiropractic clinic, Restoration, and I had an adjustment today also. I've been back to once a week there, and for a while was going twice a week again, since things tend to ebb and flow. In the initial visits in 2018 were twice a week for a while, and until things establish and get settled. And so the frequency of adjustments varies. And I think that also has been a good baseline for everything else too.
Excellent. So,
What
thinking
kind
back
of
with,
what
go
kind of
ahead.
people do you have on your podcasts?
A lot of them are functional medicine providers who have resources in addition for brain injury survivors. And those are the ones that I'd like to highlight. Although I've also had, there was one traumatic brain injury survivor local to me that I recently had on, and a brain injury support group facilitator.
Very interesting. I'm gonna have to check it out. What's the name of it?
The Choose Greater Health show.
Okay.
Excellent. So now you mentioned that there's a traumatic brain injury survivor support group. Is that something that's pretty common around? If that's because I guess since I don't have a TBI myself, I guess I hadn't even thought about that there'd be a support group, but that makes total sense. That would
Yeah.
be yeah. Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, my local brain injury support group is through the Brain Injury Association of Missouri, and they're all volunteer run. And since mine, with this one used to be in person, it was the first one I joined, and through the facilitator who has had movement events, she is um, she's a counselor with experience in movement, and so and she actually had a traumatic brain injury herself, a concussion, and she saw a local need for a support group, so she signed up to be the facilitator of that one. And then in 2020 we went onto Zoom, and we've been there ever since, except we have a day camp sort of in-person day. It was this last year, it was in October, and we did kind of a picnic and activities like art and tie-dyeing t-shirts. And so I like to go to those because it's our one chance every year to meet in person now. And I'm also a member of the Brain Exchange and the Seminole Spirit support groups, and those are both online.
Excellent. So I'm wondering if I can go back to the topic of the therapeutic horse um, experience. If somebody is going to be starting that for the first time, what does that look like? I know that might pique interest a bit here. Is like, wait, you can use a horse in a therapy sense. What does it look like when you go to a session? How does it typically run?
Well, depending on the level of the rider, I get to see some of the classes before ours, and they have the participants on the horse with sidewalkers and leaders, and they do a lot of the same things as we do, but their trotting, for instance, is supported. And I'm in the independent class where we ride mostly independently as we're able, and the horses cooperate.
Excellent. And how many people are typically in a class together?
8 total is about the maximum, although they might fit 10 in the other non-independent classes.
Excellent.
And you teach them the classes, or do you just participate?
I just participate.
Okay. Okay.
The classes are led by certified equine occupational or physical therapists.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I didn't know.
Good. And what is your favorite part about the classes? Is it working with the horse? Is it the people you end up interacting with? What is your favorite thing to do there?
At Cedar Creek, trail rides when the weather is good. And Zoe and I have gotten to lead the group on occasion. Zoe is the horse that I've ridden most frequently now, and she's a black and white mare, mostly black with some white socks and a white stripe on her face. And I've also gotten to decorate her with chalk, and we've all done that with our horses in class sometimes too.
Oh my gosh, that would be fun to be able to decorate your horse with chalk. I love that.
Yeah, I think I have a photo of us in front of the Cedar Creek trailer coming back from the trail, and Zoe has the tie-dye design on her back.
Oh my gosh. So it sounds like you said that going on a trail ride, that would actually be like going out like outside of an arena then. So do you have some sessions in arenas and then others are out I don't know if I want to say out in the wild or
Yeah, we have our class. We start the class in the arena, and then we get everyone lined up, and we all go out on the trail, and we ride the 2 or 3 trail loops, as many of them are in good shape and the weather is good, and then we go back in the arena and maybe do some trotting or the games or whatever it is to finish out the class.
Excellent. Beautiful. So, and have you done much riding outside of? I believe there are locations all across the country that offer this type of therapeutic recreation. Have you
Well,
done it in other places too?
well, just on my own, I've gone on trail rides in Michigan and even a hack in the countryside in England when I was 16.
Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
A lot of riding before your injury. What was it like then getting back on a horse after your injury? Was it pretty soon, or was there I think
The most challenging part of it really was getting into the barn and back. And when that was by the time my feet and left ankle weren't
I
working so
froze.
well together.
I froze there for just a moment.
Mhm.
So if you were to share
Sure, if you can.
uh, uh, any piece of advice for somebody who is a recent brain injury survivor, what would be the okay, I'm not sure if
Well,
you guys can still hear me, but yeah,
I
go
can
ahead.
I can barely hear. I think I know where you're going though. What advice would you give to other people who may have had a brain injury who want to like do what you're doing or just go out and do their passions?
Even just finding the resources that are right for them, well, start locally and really get into the asking around about what's available and do a little more research. That's what I did, and I got a neurofeedback referral from an outpatient PT clinic and also therapeutic horseback riding there too. So yeah, start local with where you are and go from there.
That's interesting.
Excellent.
I've I used to play wheelchair basketball, so I had to call around and see who was playing where and what activities there were for me and things like that. So I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. So thank you so much for joining us here today. This again was Paige Spears. All of us here at Ability MKE Now. We thank you.